Did your narcissist think that they were the god of their universe? You see, a lot of times a narcissist thinks and makes it appear and even says to you, you need to serve me. You need to be the person that's underneath me because I am the god. Like, I've literally had people tell me that they've been with a person that said they wanted that person to call them by that name. Like, it's crazy. Okay, sometimes that happens. Narcissists oftentimes view themselves as being the god in the relationship or the god of the universe, and everything needs to bow down to them because they're so great. Do you ever have that? Well, stick around. We're going to talk about it some today. If you guys are new here, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this channel to provide awareness, growth, healing, and change. I've been in therapy for multiple years, working on my own narcissistic personality disorder and trying to understand it, trying to explain it in ways that it makes sense to everybody out there, and trying to help people understand that narcissistic abuse is real and is very dangerous. It's something that impacts people on emotional, on a physical, on a mental level, like none other. To be able to understand some of the craziness that you've gone through, I try to produce content on all different platforms so people get an idea of this is what's actually going on and to get clarity from the crazy making. Now, as a result, I meet with people every single day across the globe to try to be able to help them understand the trauma bond, the idea of like, I know that this person's toxic, but I still love them. I still want to go back to them. And they go back into a toxic relationship. Try to help people break free from that by rewiring the mindset and getting to a place where they can heal, grow, and change, getting out of the rumination, the intrusive thoughts, the limbo land of detoxing from an addictive person, and setting up healthy boundaries. If you want to talk sometime, just go to rawmotivations.com, click on one-on-ones. We'd love to be able to help you along your journey, and it is a healing journey. A way to be able to work through the pain and to process it, to have that growth mindset moving forward. We'd love to engage with you there. We also have a community that's built to help you along this process. So you know you're not alone and you're not crazy, and there's a lot of people there to help you through that, and that's the NARC app community. If you go to narcapp.com, NARCAPP stands for Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Community. Community of like-minded people to help you in your healing process moving forward and encourage you and lift you up or give you advice along the way. So check that out, narcapp.com. When we talk about narcissists, oftentimes we talk about how narcissists are so puffed up. You know, they're so full of themselves. There's so much ego. There's so much entitlement. And like that's huge. And a lot of narcissists' idea is like the idea that I am the best person in the room. I am the best person in the universe, the planet. Everybody loves me. Everybody falls down at my feet. Like all these like thoughts in one sense are going through of someone who's very arrogant, very haughty, very prideful, and produces those behaviors on a consistent basis. A lot of times you'll see the entitlement of like, I expect what I expect when I want it, however I want it. You need to give this to me. Oftentimes you see envious, not just of them being envious of others, but thinking and projecting that other people are envious of them. A lot of times you'll see they require admiration, that they're special, like all these different things. It goes into the aspect that a lot of times a narcissist will see that and will take that to a new extreme, almost like the idea of a God complex. So when we're talking about a God complex, okay, it's the idea of an unshakable belief characterized by consistently inflated feelings of personal ability, privilege, or infallibility. The idea that I believe that I'm the best in the universe, that I'm the best that can do this, that I have the biggest privilege to be able to do what I want to do, or that I'm incapable of making any mistakes and I am perfect. Did you ever meet a narcissist that thought they were perfect? Well, I can tell you, you probably have met a narcissist that didn't say that they were wrong. Those things seem impossible for a lot of narcissists to do because you have to actually sacrifice your ego and be humble to admit that you don't know everything or that you're not the best in the planet. For me, a huge part of understanding that was getting to the place of verbally being able to say, I was wrong. First years of my marriage, that never happened. It was something that could not come out of my mouth. It would be the idea of like, I would like die if it actually came out of my mouth, and I would never say it. It literally seemed stopped, not even at the tip of my tongue, but the back of my throat because I didn't want to say it. Like it literally seemed stopped, like it wouldn't come out because I would never admit that I was wrong and reduce my ego to the level of saying, hey, I actually need to be humble to someone else and admit that I don't know everything. You see, oftentimes a narcissist gets to the idea of being perfect, of thinking, hey, I am perfect, perfection personified, that they don't make a mistake. They never accept responsibility. Every little thing, above the rules, above petty things, above the rules of what they need to do, that they're better than everybody else. Sometimes sociopathic in that way. Like a lot of times it goes back to the idea of I don't make mistakes. Because the thing is, if I make a mistake, then I might feel guilty about that mistake. If I feel guilty about that mistake, then I'm going to feel shame from that mistake. And as a result, it's going to impact me and it's going to impact the mask that I put up. And I'd rather not do that. I'd rather just run away from it, blame and rage on someone else, project it on someone else so I don't have to deal with those issues. The reason why is oftentimes it's covering and it's hiding a low sense of self-esteem or insecurities of who I actually am, of the mask that's actually there. I have to run, I have to hide from it best I can. But oftentimes it'll portray the arrogance, judgmental, I'm not going to take any criticism. All these types of things pop out with people that come across of like, hey, I am a perfect person. I don't make mistakes. I don't do anything wrong. All these different types of things. For me, being perfect was a thing. Like, this isn't just a thing of him saying, like, a lot of narcissists say they're perfect. No, like, I said I was perfect. I said that I was the best person. I would joke about it's hard to deal with someone who's so perfect, right? Like I'm saying these phrases, and I hope you understand, like, this isn't me making this up. This is me saying I've said those phrases to my wife, to my family. Because the thought process was like, I can't do anything wrong, therefore I have to be perfect. And it doesn't matter, even if I look bad, I'm still perfect. And the thought process that was so screwed up for such a long period of time of saying these things, believing these things, and acting out on these things, when that perfection didn't exist at all. Not even close. Does your narcissist struggle with a God complex? Do you see that in your life, in the dynamic, in the relationship? I'm going to give you 4 things to do, or what to do when they're coming across this way, or when they're perfection personified, when they're God complex, the God of the universe. 4 things. Number 1, ignore. You're like, whoa, can we do that? Do it safely. Be okay with doing it, but be careful to make sure that you're safe. But number 1, ignore. Don't give authority to it. Don't give credibility to a person who's going to use that to manipulate, control, and abuse you. I'm the best. Okay? Move on. Ignore it. Take their power, take their credibility away. Number 2, leave. They say this in almost all my videos. A lot of the stuff I say is if the narcissist isn't showing consistent change, honesty, and vulnerability, you need to walk out the door. You need to find someone who actually respects you, who actually demonstrates love to you. And if you don't find that in that person, then you need to leave. If that person has a God complex and thinks that they're perfect, that means there's nothing you can work on in the relationship because it's always going to be your fault forever. That sense of ego and entitlement that it's always them that's the perfect one and you're always the person that is wrong means you have nothing to work on in the relationship and you need to walk away. Number 3, confront. Be careful. Again, we're talking about being safe. So with this, confront with witnesses, with people that are around. Don't do this on your own, and make sure that you are safe whenever you do anything like this. Okay, specifically, you might be interacting with a narcissist that has a God complex that thinks they're perfect in the workplace, okay? Then confront with witnesses. Make sure it's there. Don't attack that person. Just say, this is the facts, okay? You're not perfect. This thing wasn't met. This thing wasn't met. We need to follow through. You don't follow through in this area. I think you messed up in here. Like, whatever it is, like, confront, but with witnesses. So be very careful about that. Number 4, boundaries. Establish solid boundaries. You need this for everybody. You need this for everything. And you need to understand the boundaries are not to put on another person. That's control. A boundary is for you. For you. To say, this is how much shit I'm going to take and I'm not going to take anymore. What that might be is you limit the interaction with that other person. You limit what you put up with. You say, this is as far as I'm going to go. I'm not going to meet you any farther because I am tired of taking all your shit. And you set up boundaries to protect yourself. A lot of this sounds very narcissistic. Okay? Because the ego inflates to be the best than everyone else, that everyone else below and beneath. As a result, everyone else is stupid. Everyone else is an idiot. Every coworker doesn't know how to do it as well as I can. Every person can't engage to the level that I can. People aren't smart enough. They're not good enough. All these things. Narcissists bring themselves above that and they're like, hey, I'm the best. Everybody else is this awful person. For me personally, I never identified myself as God. Partially because of my religious beliefs, of me growing up in the church. But I still replaced him in my life by myself. I still made myself be the perfect person with no mistakes. I come to the table, be super humble about it. I wrote the book on humility, would do all these things to come across a certain way, to be the perfect person, to be the person that I thought was good enough to hold that mask up and say, hey, I'm the best out there. When in reality, what I was doing was I was dethroning God out of my life. I was taking control and thinking that I knew better than everybody else. I was saying I'm not humble enough to be honest about the shit that's inside. I'm not humble enough to sacrifice my ego and be vulnerable that I don't have this together. I'm not humble enough to work through this and say, hey, I need help. The problem is the majority of narcissists will never do that either and will never make that step in honesty to engage with who they are and actually work to get help.